Welcome to Perth's #1 podcast. You're listening to the Jamo and Dylan Show.
Yeah, we're on the way to Dunsborough. Little man trip with the boys. We celebrate.
G'day guys and welcome back to the Jamo and Dylan Show. Today we have a very special guest, one of my favourite AFL players. Welcome to the show, Jordan Clark.
Thanks for having me, lads. Bit of a privilege. So,
thanks for making the time, bro.
No,
we really
sure.
appreciate it.
No, we
Spare
do.
time on a Sunday, come on the show.
Especially after a big game last night.
Yeah, no, it was a decent game. Don't really like the wet myself, but no, it was good to get through and have a nice win. So
100%.
Had
Team's
a
going
good,
all right?
Yeah, great season, haven't you, so far?
yeah. Well, we've had a few games where we've been a little bit inconsistent, and certainly reflected the scoreboard. I think against West Coast and the Doggies sort of stands out a little bit, but we're going pretty well, and I think we're building nicely towards the back end of the year.
Dylan and I were actually in the car before talking about the season so far, and I'm a Dockers supporter. Dill was actually an Adelaide supporter.
I'm a Crows man, so it's a disappointing season this year, majorly.
But we were talking about that West Coast game in particular, and obviously it would have been a tough game for you guys because you're just shocked, really. So what were your thoughts on that game, and how have you and the boys turned it around from that moment onwards?
Because you had a tough 3 weeks. You had the Carlton loss, the Port loss, then the West Coast loss, so that could derail a season pretty easily. What kept it together? How did you turn it around in the club?
Well, I suppose going back to that, looking at the Port and the Carlton loss, they're probably two of the best teams in the comp. Obviously, Port have had their struggles a bit of late, but they're still a very, very talented side and a very good side, and Carlton sort of speak for themselves. So, we challenged them right up until within one kick, I suppose, and could have gone either way. And West Coast game, we just got a lot wrong. And take no credit off them, I suppose. That they have a very good team. They had quite a lot of their players in from that flag that they won, and they have some very good experienced players around, some really high talented young kids. So when they get it right, they're a very good team as well.
Definitely. Some exciting players too. Harley Reid's set the tournament on light. Yeah,
he's been good so far this season for a first year as well. One of the most impressive, and he's adapted really well, it seems, to AFL.
Yeah, no, he's certainly a freak. He tore us apart that night, and it's good to see a young kid like that going well. And I suppose it's quite a lot of pressure on him, and it's good to see him performing and handling that.
Just on that, so obviously you went to Geelong, pick 15, 2018. I just want to talk about your time over there and what pressure you felt being a top 20 pick. Like, was there a bit of expectation, or were Geelong pretty good with how they treated you?
Well, there's not really any pressure. I suppose the biggest pressure is the pressure you put on yourself.
True.
And as a young fella trying to work that out, I suppose there's the pressure of coming in, you want to play straight away. You think that it'll just happen straight away. And it's probably one of the worst things that did happen to me is I come straight in. I didn't really have a pre-season. I had glandular fever. I'd played a lot of cricket in my junior years and never done a pre-season, and just sort of came in, slotted in, and thought that was pretty easy, and didn't really probably get the memo of, having to really earn my spot and work really hard and work out what I need to, put in front of other things and what to value. And then when those setbacks came, sort of they're pretty tough to handle because you start putting all the pressure on yourself. I'd never been dropped before at the time. I'm living on the other side of the country. And it was, it come back to all the pressure that I was putting on myself, thinking, my family and my friends judge me because I'm a footballer and I've been dropped. And I think once I got my head around that, my family and my friends don't actually care that I play footy. It's I'm just Jordan. And I'm still my dad's son and my brother's brother and mum's son and that sort of thing, my sister's brother, and that's all they see me as. And it made those little setbacks quite easy to handle.
That's awesome.
Nice, that's sick. Yeah,
we hear a lot of that, like separating footy from life. Like people make footy their whole life, and I guess that's not the way to go about it. Yeah,
I certainly have never been one to live and breathe it as such. As particularly early in my AFL career, I was pretty blasé and didn't really value the preparation side of things, and quite raw, I suppose, not through ignorance or anything like that. It's probably quite raw, and played a lot of cricket, and that sort of culture of a cricketer is not lazy but pretty laid back, and you can get away with a bit more of you can just I suppose back in your raw talent a bit more on the cricket oval than you can on a footy oval, because you need to cover a lot more ground out on the oval, your body needs to be right, and that sort of thing, but and your weight and that sort of thing. So it wasn't through ignorance, it was probably through just being quite raw and not knowing what I do know now. So it was an interesting period for me.
Definitely. Yeah, I just want to touch on that cricket stuff in a bit more depth in a little bit. But let's go back to where you were born growing up in Albany and what your family dynamic is. And I know you got a few brothers. So yeah, what's that been like? And give us a little bit about your upbringing.
Yeah, so actually I was born in Mandurah.
Yeah.
And I'm one of five. So I've got an older brother, two younger brothers, and a younger sister.
Nice. Competitive household, I'm assuming, growing up?
Yeah, we are competitive beasts in the household.
Nice.
Yes, it's very highly strung at times when the games come out. But yeah, sort of lived in Mandurah right up until I was 13, and footy had been a large part of my life. Dad worked at the Greyhounds when I was quite younger, so again, just sort of trying to pick winners against your brother and stuff like that from a very young age, and always wanting to beat each other in running races and that sort of thing. And then, Dad sort of moved on to the job at Peel Thunder and was the CEO there for probably, I think, about 5 or 6 years. And that sort of wrapped up. And funny thing, Dad actually wrote the alignment between Peel and Freo. And
there you go.
Sort of Dad left there and we moved to Albany. And it was in that period, I'd told Dad and AFL clubs, I'm just jumping a bit forward here, that I'd never play a game for Freo. I'd never, ever wanted to go to Freo.
So did you not go for them growing up?
No, I was a massive West Coast fan.
Yeah, right.
So then did my time in Albany. I did about 2 years there. And
what was the move down there due to?
Just to change it up. Dad and Mum wanted to get out of Mandurah or get out of Perth as such, and go to a regional sort of town, and Dad got a pretty nice job down there, and
nice.
So we sort of moved down there for a couple of years, and it was a great time down there. But long term, probably our family didn't see ourselves down there. That's for sure. And I ended up coming back to Guildford in year 11 on a scholarship, and in year 12, Mum and Dad moved the rest of the family sort of back up to Perth, and we've been here ever since.
Did you enjoy your time in high school? Did you have fun? Was it fun being a footy prospect as well growing up?
Yeah, well, it was funny actually. When I was in year 10 at Albany Senior High School, I wasn't actually a footy prospect. I was probably more of a cricketing prospect, and I missed. I was in the state footy, so that's a bit of a lie. I was in the state footy program that time too, but I missed like a significant amount of school. And obviously, for people that don't know, Albany's about 4 hours away from Perth, and I had to get to training at the Wacker some nights, and I had to be there and sort of thing. So Mum and Dad, either or, would drive me to the Wacker and drive me back up.
Wow.
Sometimes 3 times a week. So doing
That's
three
unreal.
8-hour round trips. And I was missing days and days of school. And I think I missed over 100 days of school in year 10.
Wow.
I kind of did enjoy that part. So I wasn't really hitting the books that hard, and never really had the endeavour to do that. But it was sort of sport for me. But year 11 and 12, when I moved to Guildford on a scholarship with my mates in boarding, that are my mates now, but at the time I had no idea about anyone there apart from my best mate. One of my best mates who I played a lot of cricket with, he was from Bustleton, and we sort of connected through regional tours and that sort of thing, played in the state team and the Aussie team together, and he said he's going to Guildford on an academic scholarship. So he was quite smart, and he ended up being the only factor why I went to Guildford, because I said to Dad, I don't know anyone, I don't want to leave the family. I was pretty family orientated, loved being around home, my brothers, my siblings, and all that sort of thing. And in the end, went to Guildford and absolutely loved it. Like, it was the best time of my life. Boarding house, just all boys at that time, and it was a great culture, great fun. Didn't do a lot of schoolwork, but
a lot of fun though.
Yeah, we always say the PSA schools look like a lot of fun, don't they? Even the way they treat sport is a sort of a next level to how our school did it. Yeah. Always kind of envious of that culture.
We went to like a low level private school.
They focused more on like drama and arts, our school. Yep. So the sporting was a little bit on the back pedal.
Yeah. Like, we were playing year 12 footy, and we played the same school twice. That was our season.
Yeah, that's all we got.
It's not even like a regional school or anything. Like, you'd expect that.
I swear they just didn't care. I don't know.
Yeah, like the footy program was awful, if there even was one.
Yeah. The liturgical dance was killer, wasn't it?
Yeah.
They loved that.
Even like cricket. We had a specialist cricket class. There was maybe like 8 people in there. Yep. It was just so bad. I loved my cricket, and I played heaps growing up, but like at school there was just no pathway at all. I guess on the weekends, like, there's obviously district cricket and whatnot, but I didn't get very far. No.
I wouldn't have said Guildford really prioritise their sport as well.
Yeah.
The amount of 100-point beltings I played in at Guildford was, it's probably more than 10. So
yeah.
But cricket, we actually were very good in our year 12 year. We we took that out, and that was quite fun. And it is quite competitive. There is a bit of an aura around PSA sport, I must say. But, I wouldn't say it's any different to Colts, waffle footy or district cricket or anything like that. It's just, I think the fact that you're a private school and they're, it's sort of they just want to beat each other, the rivalries and that probably makes it
a little bit
it up
more.
a little bit more. And that's
Yeah.
not putting any disrespect on the PSA schools or anything like that, but it is beat up a fair bit. I think.
Okay.
I've seen that on YouTube as well. A lot of the Victorian PSA schools have all their videos filmed, as they do here as well, but they've got highlight packages for every single player. It's shot like in 4K really well, and it's like this real tribal feeling around sport in like year 11 and 12, whereas ours was
Just more casual, really.
that was
isn't
around
it?
like liturgical dance and stuff. Just crazy.
Different
though.
priorities, I guess.
Yeah.
That's the way it goes.
And we always say, like, if we could turn back time, like, not that we have regrets, because obviously we didn't pick where we wanted to go to school, but like we would like to have gone to like a PSA
would have
school
been fun
and
to
had that
experience
experience.
the culture, I think. Yeah, and the
Yeah.
bonds you mate. It seems like good mateship happens as well, which is cool.
Yeah, because I've got a few mates from Guildford and they love their time.
Yep.
So we're the year above you at school. So yeah, a couple of those boys you'd probably know, but they had a great time, and I've heard a lot of stories, and they love their sport. So
When did it click for you that I could probably be an AFL player?
Sort of didn't click for me for a while. Probably cricket clicked for me first.
Yeah.
And I loved my sport growing up, and I was never like a super quick bowler or anything when I was young. And there is like a moment where I just decided to bowl fast. Like it was like, I remember the moment clear as day.
how old were you?
I would have been about 14,
Yeah.
15, around there. And I won't like name him or anything like that. It's not fair, but there's a kid who down the other end who was quite talented, and he was just like taking the piss, like just putting me wherever he wanted to.
Is it a name we'd know?
Nah, not really.
Okay.
Nah,
Oh, so
just
okay,
for, like, you know, being
So a nobody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
but like no, quite talented.
But I know
Yeah,
you
yeah.
at the time, yeah.
And he sort of hit me to all parts, and
Yeah.
not letting me know, but just a bit cocky about it.
Yeah, and you're
I
thinking,
just
oh,
and I
swagger.
just got this like competitive edge about me that I hate getting beaten.
Yeah.
It's like, and you just try harder and harder and harder, just thinking you're just going to be faster and faster and faster. It was one of those moments where I just went, right, I'm going to run in as fast as I can here, and I'm just going to try and knock his head off.
Yeah.
And then I let it rip, and I was like, all right, I can actually bowl pretty quick if I try. Like,
Well, so you'd never tried that before?
no, I just sort of wandered in and just rolled it over.
Yeah.
And thought, I always wanted to be a wicket keeper and a batter, and I was
Yeah.
not quite a batter and not quite a wicket keeper. And it sort of happened quite quickly. And then footy, back to the footy one, it didn't really click for me. You're always thereabouts, like, but you're making the squads in Albany and country stuff, and it's not quite the same as you're in Perth. You don't really know, the pool of talent up here is so much bigger and more depth and that sort of thing. And probably wasn't till I played state 16s, but I was probably average, probably in the bottom 6 players, I suppose.
And what position were you playing in state 16s?
I was like a wing,
Yeah.
a winger, like high half forward, not really getting near it, to be fair.
So no defence time as a junior?
No.
Yeah.
My first defence game was at Claremont. My first Colts
Yeah.
game. I told Dad, Claremont sort of said, "Oh, we want you to come and try and play in the Colts, when you get a chance." So I did that and got my first game and got told I was playing at half back. And I remember getting in the car to Dad and got on the phone, or to Dad, he might have picked me up and just said, "I don't even want to play. Like, I'm playing in the back line.
Yeah.
Who wants to play in defence?" And that was pretty much the move that, nailed my spot in the back line. But, it probably wasn't till halfway through the state 18s where we played against South Australia in the first game, and I was on the wing. And we got towed up, absolutely belted.
Who were some of their players in that draft?
Rankin, Lukosius, Rosie, the Fredericks, they were a handy team.
That's a pretty stacked team.
And got belted, played on the wing, didn't see it, and I actually thought my career's done here. Like,
Oh, you thought
that
I
bad?
hadn't spoken to an AFL club, so I thought,
okay.
I'm probably, if I really want to push my case, it might be a rookie chance. At this stage. And then the next game, we had an injury or something in the back line, and I got moved back, and I was like, well, this is good. Like, and the confidence in me just sort of come out, because I've played here for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Like, this is my ideal spot.
And then it all started to
And
come
it
together.
sort of, without being a standout game or anything, it was a solid game and didn't get a heap of the ball, but was all right. And then the next 2 games, I just sort of came into my own, where I was just like so confident, And I'm not trying to pump myself up here. It's just like that was probably the moment for me where I thought, yeah, I can actually, match it with some of these kids because I did fear a lot of kids at that age where you know how they beat up Victorian players. You're coming up against Sam Walsh.
Yeah. So
you got Bailey Smith and there's Connor Rosie, and you're just like, I've never heard of these kids, and they're talking like they're Gary Ablett.
Yeah.
And they are very good players. And so at the time, I sort of like feared that. And then it was probably those moments when you start getting your hands on the ball and getting involved, and just like, oh, maybe I am quite up to the level. I don't know. And
nice.
yeah, it sort of took a couple of games, I suppose, to really realise the moment. It's actually funny you asked that question. I was thinking about that on the way here, to go a bit off track. In the car, I was thinking about, it's funny how you always have a moment, but like, what if you miss that moment? Like
how quick it can, how different your life would. Like if you said it was an injury that allowed. Imagine if that never happened.
Yeah.
What happens? Do you get rookie drafted? You go to different clubs, or you never know what could happen, right?
Yeah. So it's actually funny because I was thinking literally about that in the car. Like if that injury never happened, probably
Who knows?
Yeah,
right time and place.
Yeah.
What about the choice? Was it like a conscious choice from you to go, oh, I'm going to go, I've got more opportunity in the AFL pathway, or was it like you weren't getting selected for cricket teams, or did the love die, or what happened with cricket?
Yeah, cricket was sort of a weird one. I was always going to play footy.
Yeah.
Always loved footy. Dad, obviously, Peel Thunder. Grew up around footy. My brothers and that, we always played footy. And I'm a terrible basketballer.
Yeah.
And I played 1 year of basketball, and it was the worst year of my life. I just hated basketball.
Of your life, do you reckon?
Not of my life. Just like I didn't enjoy it.
Just not for you,
I don't find the fun in basketball like I didn't. And thankfully, halfway through that season, my brother tackled me at the oval at Peel Thunder and broke my arm.
Yeah.
So I missed the last half of basketball, and I was like, thank God.
Thankful. How good's that?
And I am terrible at basketball.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to say. I'm shocking. Like.
Oh yeah, I've never been any good at it, unfortunately.
neither.
And then so I just was like, I need to play a summer sport, and I wanted to play cricket. And I don't know why, as a little kid, I had an obsession with like the helmets. I just always wanted a helmet. Like,
Well, you were wearing a helmet
yeah,
around the
no,
house
like I'd go to like Jim Kidd or Rebel Sport, and I just wanted the cricket helmet.
Yeah.
Because like,
I understand.
Yeah, I was more of like, I wanted the bat, but
Yeah.
you wanted the
I
helmet.
wanted a
Just
helmet.
even the gear,
Like,
no
so how
worries.
good's the helmet?
Yeah.
Like, and I don't know, there's something about it, and that got me into cricket, and I just sort of played it as a summer sport, I suppose.
Yeah.
Always knowing that I was going to give footy.
Footy's where your
a red
heart
hot
is.
Crack if it sort of not fell my way, but if I could make it happen, sort
Yeah.
of thing.
And then with cricket, did that take you to a Junior World Cup?
No, so I didn't quite play in the World Cup stuff.
Yeah.
We just had a one-off series against Pakistan in Dubai. Played 3 one-days and 3 2020s.
There was a hat trick there.
Yeah, there was a hat-trick in a game there.
Yeah.
I got quite lucky that day. But other than that, there wasn't too much to rave home about. They
'Cause I remember-
absolutely wiped the floor with us.
I remember when you got drafted, like I did a bit of background research, as I do with most. I'm a bit of a sicko when it comes to footy. And I saw that you'd taken a hat trick in cricket, and I was like, got a pretty talented bloke here.
Yeah, I did get quite lucky that day. Like
Yeah.
I said, the Pakistani boys were next level.
Yeah.
The funny story is that Naseem Shah, the 16-year-old, he was playing against us back then in under 16. So that was like, for me, it's probably, at the time he debuted in Test cricket as a 16-year-old. And we're going, hang on. So yeah, it was just weird, like, because I faced one ball.
Yeah.
And it was the fastest ball I ever faced in my life.
Was that from him?
From him.
Yeah.
I never even, at the time, fastest ball I ever faced. And just like, wow, that's quick. And then never thought much of it, and sort of kept an eye out on those boys to see that, if any of them would go on
Progression,
to
yep.
sort of make it. And he was the only one.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So, but yeah, I think good on him. He's obviously was a lot younger than we thought at the time. And,
Just
ran
tearing it
rings
up.
around us,
Yeah. I guess some people you have the natural ability and the talent,
Freak talent.
and the hard work too.
Yeah.
So, all comes
Were there any
together.
boys that you played with that have gone on to play the even state cricket?
Yeah, no, there's quite a few.
Yeah.
Like Mackenzie Harvey.
Yep.
Liam Scott, Ollie Davies.
Yep.
Played a bit with Toddy Murphy. He actually missed out in that team.
Oh,
believe it or
really?
not. Didn't make it.
Now he's played Test
arguably
cricket.
gone further than all of us.
Yeah.
And then there was like the kids below that we played a bit with, like McGurk,
Yeah.
those types of players, Tanvi Sanger. player.
Fraser McGurk's going to make a lot of money, isn't he?
Oh, he's going to make a lot of money. He's a very good cricketer, that kid.
Definitely.
Good on him too. The way he's sort of gone about it, I suppose, stuck fat with his mindset and how he plays the game. And
Yeah.
a lot of people can probably frown upon that, but he's 0 to 100 real quick.
When he gets going, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Just want to talk about your draft year again. So obviously you named a few of those SA boys that were really good. I was just having a look at like the top 25. There's some superstars in your
It was a deep draft, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. I think it was crazy. We talked about. I don't know why it came up, but Sam Sturt and myself were taking a couple picks apart.
Yeah.
We were talking about our top 10 the other day, and I was just saying ours is the top 10 in our draft's probably one of the best top 10s
Ever.
probably going around.
Yeah,
Like,
because most of them are also playing regular footy, and a lot of there's some other top 10s where there's obvious stars in one, but then some pick 6s or 7s might not be playing anymore.
Yeah, like a Dan Gorringe, who was pick 9 in the draft.
Yep.
Yeah. So, I think what did it go? It went Walsh, Lukosius, Rankin, or vice versa. I'm not sure how that went.
Walsh, Lukosius, Rankin, King, Rosie, Ben King, Bailey Smith, Taron Thomas, Chase Jones, Nick Blakey.
Yeah.
So there,
And you got Butters at 12.
like that whole top 15 is pretty much playing
Yeah.
every week, which
And
is
then
pretty
you always
crazy.
get like Bobby Hill was 24. He's come really good. I really love the stories like a Lockie Neal who was picked quite late, who's gone on to do great things.
Yeah,
I love
they
those
just develop.
stories too.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's been awesome.
Yeah.
And I love Luke Ryan's story, to be fair. He
Yeah.
sort of only-
Yeah, how good's that,
only
right?
played VFL footy because his mum bought him a dog.
Yeah.
And he wanted a dog. And then sort of turned himself into a really, really good player. And what a player he is.
Yeah.
And a great season. Speaking of great seasons, you yourself have definitely taken it to the next level this season. What do you think has contributed to your individual performances coming together as they have?
Yeah,
and the
I
consistency as well.
Yeah, that was probably always been a big one. My consistency had sort of been a little bit of an issue, I suppose, and sometimes can muddle up the valuing the right things in my role and that. And, JL's and Boydie at the club have been really good in helping me base my game off a couple of key pillars in the contest and starting positions for me, and then bring my strengths sort of comes into it. I think if I get that right and, win the contest, win or halve the contest, repeat efforts and my positioning, it usually puts me in good spots to win the ball anyway. And
Nice.
that will allow my strengths to sort of come into the game. So, working on that and getting the process right. And when I first come to Freo, probably just getting that confidence back that, I've been dropped probably 15 times or so in the last 2 years, haven't played a lot of AFL footy. So, getting that confidence back and believing in yourself and knowing that you are capable of playing at the level again was probably a bit of a hurdle for me for a while. And I think this off season, just wanting to, take it to the next stage again. Like, pretty proud person, very competitive, and just always want to try and just get better.
Yeah.
I'm always finding ways to just try and better myself. And I hate playing stinkers. I hate playing shit games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we cop it, but no one tries to. So, and I think wrapping my head around that part as well, that, sometimes it's not going to go your way and you are going to have a bad day and stuff like that, or a bad quarter. And it's just about trying to not let a bad quarter turn into 3 bad quarters and ruin your whole game, I suppose. So.
Definitely. And one thing that I wanted to ask was the mental side of the game is obviously something that, it's getting talked about a lot more now. I guess even in the 90s, like it wouldn't have been discussed that much about where people are at mentally.
Even in the 2000s, I've noticed a change in the way that AFL sort of treats, maybe players who have some, issues with
Off-field
alcohol,
issue.
off-field issues, like sort of the way Ben Cousins was treated versus how it's treated these days. It seems a bit more supportive in that aspect as well.
Yeah.
With the mental health of players being more aware as well.
And one thing I wanted to ask was, what is a mental health person at the club that can help? Was it like a counsellor or something like that?
No, the resources are, you're right. There's like a wealth of resources at the club and in the AFL that you can use. And I think that it is such an important area at the moment, mental health stuff. But the mental side of the game is, admittedly, I probably still don't do enough of it. Seemingly, when you look at some of the blokes who do get it right in the Caleb Sarongs, Nat Fifes, and have a look what it sort of holds them. Yeah. Instead, it holds them in. But admittedly, I probably don't do enough of it because I'm sort of Yeah, I'm sort of pretty laid back and don't like to have extra meetings and extra time talking to people. And it's sort of something I'm still trying to really build into my, I suppose, my week and my preparation for games and that. And, you're never going to get everything right. But, yeah, it's probably one that I am gradually working on and trying to build into my weekly preparation, I suppose. But, I think at the club we've got a psych, we've got a couple of player development managers who sort of counsellors, I guess you could say, and health and well-being. We've actually got a well-being dog at the club.
Oh, really?
So we've got everything there.
Yeah.
It's sort of it's not ever forced upon you though. It's on the individual.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Nice.
Just on that, I wanted to know, and not to get deep, but what has been the lowest point in your career so far? Was there a moment where you were just thinking, like, I want to throw it all away, or was there any thoughts like that have crept in?
Yeah, there was. There was a really hard time for me. In my second year, I sort of everyone sort of, it's hard because, you come in, you play a few games and that sort of thing. And my form wasn't great in my second and third year, but particularly the end of my second year, I kind of was homesick a bit and wanted to come home, wanted to, be around my family and my friends and that sort of thing and play footy at Freo. Freo were pretty keen to get a trade done and that, and Geelong sort of stood firm. And in the end, it sort of led to my decision to say, oh, well, let's not even bother. I'll just give it another crack. And things probably didn't get any better for me. It just got a bit hard. I was sort of struggling, wanted to be back at home. I wasn't playing. We were in the hubs at the time.
Oh, yeah,
so I was playing 12-on-12 scratch matches.
Yeah.
Got injured, did my shoulder, and it just wasn't getting a whole lot better for me. And that was probably the time where I realised that, like, it's sort of, I've done it. I've played AFL footy, and maybe this isn't for me. Like, I'm pretty laid back and that sort of thing at home. And it's quite tough. It's quite strenuous. Like, you put yourself out there for the public to, berate you at times.
Yep.
And absolutely, some players line up and just cop it, get abused and abused and abused. And I think people, at that point, it was hard for me to come in and play a bad one, get dropped, and then you're just getting lined up into. And, I think people forget that at the end of the day, some of these kids running around are only 18, 19 years old.
Yeah, for sure.
And they are someone's son. They're someone's brother. And that's the thing I hate about the game is the gambling side of it and that sort of thing because, no one ever goes out there. Like, for example, the person that sends you a message, I guarantee you they've had a bad day at work throughout the year.
Yeah.
But, like, they didn't try and have a bad day at work.
Yeah.
And I haven't gone out there to play a stinker. I've tried my best and it just didn't go my way today.
You're not playing for people's multis.
Yeah, exactly right. And if you can't afford to lose the money, don't put the multi on.
Yeah.
And so, that was probably the hardest bit for me was trying to, like, block all that out and not really value their opinions because their opinions don't really matter.
Yeah.
And it sort of took me a long time to realise that. And so that was probably the hardest part. So then trade week was sort of coming around and my managers, it was before that I had a sit down with the player development manager at Geelong and his name was Mark Worthington. And I sort of said, mate, I don't know about cricket, about footy.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind. This was really missing cricket at this stage just because it was so laid back. It wasn't as high intensity and that sort of thing. And but then there was a part of me saying that's sort of the easy way out.
Yeah. That's that competitive dog inside you.
And he just said, no, mate, there's one option here and it's you go on a Freo and you're going to give it a crack. And,
Nice.
And then that sort of was the moment where I went, he's dead right. Like, I'm not giving up on this. There's no way. And came home and been around mum, dad and my brothers, my sister and my closest mates sort of just give me that, I don't know, like a bit of regrowth, I suppose.
Nice.
Like find a bit more enjoyment.
Yeah.
Actually really enjoy going in and like wanting to do the hard stuff and, run laps in the 40-degree heat.
Yeah.
That is hard. But no, it was probably just that environment that I was around coming back home really made it easy for me because I know like people want to label you a sook for leaving and that sort of thing. But I'll look at, Geelong's list and how many players they've brought back to Geelong and it's fine. But as soon as I wanted to leave, I was called a sook. And, mummy's boy and that sort of thing. And that's fine. Like, I don't, like looking back on it, I was like, it's just words and doesn't really bother me these days. I wouldn't change it for the world. I think that I've made a great decision for me personally, not just footy, park footy aside, but for my happiness and
Nice.
outside of footy, I've made the best decision possible. So
For sure.
It's worked out, hasn't it? In the end, so far.
not yet. Ultimately, I'd love to get a flag with the boys,
Yeah.
but
I love to hear that.
that's when I could say it's worked out. But at the moment, it's been a great 3 years.
Just on the messages you received and like in the media, like I remember it was Mummy's boy, like those things were said about you. At the time when you were a bit younger, did that affect you?
Yeah, well, it's funny. Everyone says, don't read that stuff. Like, it doesn't matter.
It's hard not to, right?
It's hard not to read, when someone sends you a death threat or, like, says something about your mum and getting cancer and stuff like that. Like, some people actually can stoop that low. And, I'm not trying to cry poor me or anything, but there is a line that needs to be drawn because I think if I went out of my way to have a crack at someone like that, I'd be plastered all over.
Yeah.
Probably penalised.
Sure, there'd be
heavily,
some
but
fines
it's
coming
like,
your way.
It's always, just block that out. You got to block that out. And it's like, well, there's a point of that where it's like, no, you got to draw the line a bit.
Yeah.
You can't just...
Easier said than done too.
Yeah.
Do you also pay attention to criticism from the AFL media, so past players and presenters? Does that creep into you or the club or anything, or do you guys block that out usually?
No, I think some boys it does. It's sort of now I've literally turned off everything. So unless I follow someone, they actually can't even send me a message request.
Yeah.
Like, no one can actually comment on my stuff. No one can get to me because I just found that was the easiest way, The people that the closest to me are the ones that actually matter. And then apart from, JL, Boydie and my teammates, everyone else's opinion of my game and how I play doesn't actually matter. So,
For sure.
Yeah.
they're not picking the team. I don't have to play with those guys writing the paper or the headlines or that sort of thing. So I just got to, get my feedback and what I've done right, what I haven't done well off the coaches, off my teammates, and and that's what I value. So I think that's the simplest way I've been able to, put that stuff aside and not worry about it. I know, but the hard ones are, walking down the street, someone always wants to say something. And
that must be annoying,
bit
right?
Bit of a smart ass. Yeah, it's just part of it. Like
Even we get that every now and then.
Yeah.
Just for things that have been said in the podcast or just like our opinion might be different to theirs.
Yeah.
And they take time out of their day to have a crack.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
And it's annoying when they hit you with the good one too.
Yeah,
that's
I know,
what hurts.
Yeah.
Does it get intense from particularly away crowds? I'm assuming on the sidelines. Do they throw in a lot of?
Yeah, they do, but it's a lot of the times it's like pretty harmless stuff.
Okay, it's more in the spirit of the game in a way.
It's probably more the messages and stuff like that.
People are a bit more brave.
Yeah, brave behind the keyboard. That's for sure. Yeah, that's definitely that happens. It's a thing, and that sort of thing. And multis is a big driver behind this. And
because you didn't get 25 touches, they hope you die or something crazy. Yeah,
something like that. Or you cost me 13 grand or something. You put $5 on the bet, so you lost your $5, right?
Yeah.
Right, not 13K. Just ridiculous stuff like that. And I don't mind a bit of harmless banter. I'm actually quite I like to have a bit of fun and a bit of banter, but when it gets personal and stuff like that, that's when it's like, come on, like, there's a bit of a line here.
For sure.
How about some of the best sledges that you've received on the field and even in cricket as well? Like there's some that have stuck and some that you can talk about. If you don't want to, you don't have to. But and who are the best in the AFL at talking?
Lathan Vandermeer,
really,
from Western Bulldogs, is pretty relentless. But we had some good back and forth. No real good sledges or anything like that. But Fifey actually had a good one the other day. I heard.
Yeah.
Said something about. Won't obviously name because don't want to stir it up. But, someone come in and he just goes, "Hey, such and such, come and get your dog." And that was a pretty good one.
Yeah.
So it didn't swear, didn't get personal. It was just pretty funny and that sort of thing. And Alex Pearce copped a funny one in gather round.
Yeah.
Some bloke from Blues cheer squad yelled out, "You look like Chewbacca's arsehole."
That's ridiculous. Did you hear that when
I didn't quite hear it, but I remember him telling the boys, and I was just like, it's pretty funny. But he laughed that's actually not bad,
Yeah.
I haven't really copped any sort of, I probably have, but
you wouldn't know, right?
Yeah, I just
turn it off.
I'm always too busy talking myself, so but no, it's all fun and games sort of thing. I'm like the one not to sort of, take it personally once the siren goes, just it's 18 blokes all on the field trying to win the game and be as competitive as they can. And, once the siren goes and it's like you can calm down and just
Yeah.
relax, take a deep breath, and it's you're back to being your normal self, I suppose.
Yeah.
So just on you growing up supporting the West Coast Eagles, and you said that you'd never play for Freo.
Yeah.
How was it when you first went to Freo? Were you like excited about the opportunity, or were you a bit like, fuck, I wish it was West Coast?
No, well, it's actually funny because like with the trade and that, you sort of have contact with Freo, and
Yeah.
right up at the draft, Freo wanted to pick me in the draft, but Geelong I hadn't heard from Geelong, and Geelong jumped in and grabbed me pretty much straight 2 picks before Freo.
So did you have no contact with them?
Not until draft day.
Wow.
I met him once,
Yeah.
and it was like 6 months before the draft. And
Were you nervous to move over and that whole aspect of it, or was it just pure excitement to
pure
I'm on
excitement
the
at
list?
the time.
Yeah.
And then, you look at their list back then.
Well, yeah,
it's
because I was going to ask about that. Walking into the change room, right? They had was Ablett still there?
Ablett,
Crazy
Danger.
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 What was that
Harry
like?
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah,
Sell, Tommy Hawkins, Mitch
yeah,
Duncan,
just everyone.
Tommy Stewart. Like, that's a crazy locker room to
Yeah.
walk into, and very thankful for my time there and opportunity, obviously, and getting to witness those players definitely makes you a better player yourself because you get to learn from certainly the best. And that sort of thing. But yeah, it was pretty cool. And then
Come back to
so-
Freo.
I sort of had contact with him for a couple of years, and funny enough, he was a massive Eagles fan growing up, but never had any contact from West Coast through that period. So my decision was pretty easy. Like, it was
Whoever
going
wants
home,
you
They
as
want
well.
me.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you start playing AFL, so obviously you go for West Coast your whole life. You get drafted at Geelong. So do you still like have a soft spot for them in that initial few years, or not at all? Does it completely switch off because you're playing for Geelong now, or how does that work? And now that you play for Freo, like, do you still have a soft spot for Geelong since you played there, or how does that work?
I sort of didn't have a soft spot for West Coast, obviously, but
Good.
I sort of coming back to Freo and,
Yeah.
and watching the boys. I love beating Geelong.
Yeah.
Beating them,
Yeah.
touch wood, we've beaten them every time we've played them since I've been home.
Yeah.
But they've obviously won a flag, so they're in front.
Yeah.
But I definitely have a soft spot for all the teammates I played with.
Yeah, and
back
I guess
there.
the relationships you build,
Yeah,
because they
yeah.
still did a lot for you as a club
Yeah.
in a way. Nice.
Yeah, exactly. I
Yeah.
love to see them going well and that sort
Nice.
of thing. And it's good to watch them play well and those boys dominating some of them. So it's good to see. But
Just on your time at Geelong, who are your best mates from Geelong, and who do you still keep in touch with? And then who are your best mates at Freo as well?
yeah, so at Geelong, obviously it's a little bit different at Geelong because there's no one out of school. You're just friends with your teammates and that. And I came in with quite a big draft crop. There's 10 of us drafted. So like very good friends with obviously like the younger boys like a Charlie Constable, a year older, Blake Schlensog, those sorts of guys who run around the waffle now, and Cooper Stevens, Frankie Evans, who's at Port, Cooper's at Hawthorn, and then the older boys, Mitchy Duncan, Tommy Stewart, Brad Close,
Nice.
Joel Seward is probably one of my closest mates. We catch up regularly.
It's a good contact to have, isn't it? A good mate to
he's
have.
been awesome for me. Sort of always looked out for me in a way.
Yeah.
Nice.
And always has been there, not to just pump you up, but give you some hard truths as well, which is, it's why he was such a great leader, because he knows how to get the best out of everyone around him. So, he's been a great resource for me, I
Nice.
suppose. But
Tom Stewart, what another great footy story,
Yeah.
like we were talking about earlier
Yeah.
with a few of the boys.
Yeah.
How good's that?
he's awesome, Stewie, and he's an ultimate pro, and
Yeah.
he's an absolute gun.
Yeah.
And then best mates at Freo?
And at Freo, obviously, it's a different sort of dynamic because, like I said, got a lot of friends. My best mates are outside the club and that sort of thing. And the biggest thing I found when I came home was when footy's done at the club, I disconnect from footy and try not to, make my whole life revolve around footy because you spend a lot of time at the club with these boys, and
Do you
travel.
watch a lot of footy? Sorry to interrupt. Do you watch a lot of footy in your spare time or not really?
I have done more so this year.
Okay.
And I don't know why, but it's sort of a thing now that I'm just doing because I'm I like to just pick up on the trends of the game.
Okay.
I just watch for little things that, you can sort of pick up and,
So as you were saying, watching a bit more footy now in your spare time?
Yep.
Yeah.
pick up on a few little trends of the game and just get a real feel for, I suppose, like just lock myself in a little bit. And, it's sort of a part of my preparation now, I
Nice.
suppose. And a big thing at our club and JL has sort of ingrained in us is, getting down the funnel, we suppose, is like close to the game, really narrowing in your focus and nailing your preparation.
Closest, I guess, people at the club for you
Yeah,
at Freo.
Closest people at the club for me is obviously like get along with all the boys, and like I was saying, the dynamic's pretty different. But in terms of the amount of youth at our club, everyone sort of gets on very well. But I'm very close with obviously the boys in the back line. We're like a little unit in there, and Lukey, Ryan, Coxie, those sorts of boys, Brandon Walker, Chappie and all that, and then obviously Youngie and Brayshaws, Sarongs, Jeremy Sharp, Luke Jackson. Like it's pretty much the whole team,
All right, jump back in. Sorry guys, we've had a few problems, technical difficulties with the cameras, but we'll keep pushing on. And if we can't get the full video out, we'll just have to use the audio
It's going to be a
for
great
this
ep
one.
anyway.
But yeah, I just wanted to ask you, who are some of the toughest players you have to play on, and who are some of the nastiest players?
Yeah, some of the toughest players I've had to play on is when, I suppose, James Jordan he got a measure earlier in the year, and only played on him last weekend, and that sort of thing. He's a very good tagger.
Yeah.
And then when Brandon Walker was out at the back end of last year, I think I had 5 weeks in a row. I had Charlie Cameron, Tom Papley, Willie Rioli, Tyson Stengel, and Dylan Moore. So I had the dangerous forward matchup. And I didn't sleep too well before the game.
Yeah.
So those sorts of roles that you have to do on those types of players are very scary.
Few of those players are so unpredictable as well with what they do. So like with matchups that you prepare for during the week, are you looking at vision of what they do right or what they do wrong?
Yeah, so we obviously look at their strengths because at the end of the day, we are the defender and they are the forward, and you got to stop them from kicking goals and that sort of thing. But it's also a lot about, how can I make them go the other way, make them defend? How can I drag them out of, where they want to be? Like if they're a deep sort of small, like to play deep and isolated, well, how can I get up and get involved and try and drag them up the ground and, to somewhere where they don't really want to be, and potentially somewhere further away from goals that, I know, when they get the ball, they're not potentially as damaging because they can't, kick a goal from 80 metres away. So, there's a lot of little things like that goes into it, but all the time it's, they're very good players and I'm just focused on trying to beat them and not getting a bag of 6 kicked on me. So, it's a good challenge most of the time.
Elite.
What are some of your favourite stadiums to play at?
Optus is really good. I love Optus.
Just on Optus.
Deck's shocking.
No, because
but the stadium's unreal. Yeah. It really is.
Because watching, and like I've noticed it's been all year, right? Like all season it's been pretty poor, right?
Yep.
You know how they talk about wearing metal studs or whatever?
You're not allowed to wear metal studs anymore.
Okay.
So you get fined, I think the club gets fined like 40 grand if you get caught wearing metal studs.
Yeah.
So there's not actually a whole lot you can do.
Yeah.
But the deck is not its greatest for whatever reason. I'm not sure, but it's probably a tough surface to probably get right when it has the amount of traffic it has on it.
Yeah.
I think you got to take your hats off to the blokes who are the curators, I suppose, that they're trying their best. And that's all you can ask of them, I suppose. They can't really stop a Taylor Swift concert with 100,000 people going on there, can they? So I think, you just got to just be grateful that it's got a bit of grass on it and it's got goalposts at each end and we get to play a game of footy in front of 40,000
It's a great
people.
way to look at it.
I think that I'm not going to be too fussy about it, to be fair. But back on the favourite stadiums, when I definitely played at Geelong, GMHBA was like a fortress. You just couldn't be beaten there. So playing for Geelong at GMHBA was pretty
special.
Cool. And then obviously the G, just like a childhood dream. You just want to play on the G.
Is there a bit of an aura around the G, or is it just any other ground, or is it?
No, there is a bit of an aura. Just the home of footy and that sort of thing, and how big it is, and there's always going to be something about the MCG.
Yeah,
you boys have had a pretty good record there of late, though.
Yeah, I think we have. We don't get a lot of opportunity to play there, but no, we do defend and play that ground pretty well.
Yeah. Well, touch wood, in September you might be there.
Yes, touch wood.
Obviously, you get to match up against some of the best players in the league every week. Who do you think, within, say in 5 years' time, who do you think will be sort of the dominant players in the comp? Top 5, or maybe you can name some from each position, or who do you, maybe someone who's going to, you really think will break out as well?
I'll definitely, I'll say a couple from each position.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'll start with the 4, like big Sam Darcy.
Yep.
No doubt. Josh Tracy.
Yeah.
He's already having a great year.
He is
So I
having
don't
a
know
good
if
year.
He counts.
Yeah.
21 though,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
so young still.
The midfield's obvious, like Nick Dacos.
Yeah.
He's an absolute shoe-in. Chatty Warner's a shoe-in.
Yeah, unreal season.
But yeah, like Tom Green.
Yep.
From GWS. I think he'll be really good. And then in the back line, I think someone like a Leakalia from GWS.
Yeah.
Come on leaps and bounds when he's played. And then I really liked the way Mac Andrews sort of played.
Mm-hmm.
Gold
Yeah, he has
Coast.
been good, hasn't he? Good to
I've
watch
really
as
enjoyed
well.
watching him, this season especially.
Yeah, so I think that'll be some
Nice.
interesting sort of players to look forward to in the future.
Yeah.
Very athletic, those boys in the back line. So, and they read the ball really well.
Yeah,
too.
and also with Freo, so the difference between last year and this year, what are you guys doing different or doing better that is, putting you in the top 4 right now and most likely going to be, I would assume, a home finals for sure. So what's been the big difference you think this season at the club?
Yeah. There's been obviously 3 years ago we played a very good season, played 2 finals.
Yeah, you got the finals, and then you 15th, and now you're back up there.
Dropped off a bit, and probably the expectation last year we still are a very young group, and the expectation we didn't manage well at all.
Okay.
And we touched on it before, but with my game, but the inconsistency between our whole group probably was a bit off. I think Caleb was probably the only one that could probably hold his head up high last year and that sort of thing. And so this year is just sort of going back to the well with what makes us a good team, getting that full buy-in, and everyone's role it counts to a very good team performance.
Yeah.
And you don't have to go over and above. From the outside looking in, people think for example, a Jeremy Sharp on a wing, or he had 4 touches today. It's like, but he see the amount of times he held that width or defended to close that exit.
Do you see him run 16 kilometres?
Saved a goal, or he runs such a selfless patterns at times, which you often don't get the ball.
Yeah.
But within our group, that is
those things are highly rated. Yeah. So that kind of touches on what you said, how the outside criticism from media and stuff could be, he's had a horrific game, but then you're in the club and everyone's going, what a great team game you played,
Yeah. So, it's just little things like that, like role-based, and you don't have to go outside of your role to have an impact on the game. And and that's all that we sort of ask of each other, is that, when you get an opportunity over a ball or you get a play on the ball, you make your play, back yourself in and accept that sometimes you're going to make mistakes.
Yeah.
It's about who can move on from the quickest. So, name me a good player in the competition who hasn't made a shitload of mistakes in the game before. So, I think we're a group on the rise, but it's just that maturity, I suppose, and consistency and the buy-in of playing our role and understanding what makes us a good team that's holding us in good stead.
One thing I've noticed, I think, is a big important thing, which you guys did last week, is winning close games. I feel like, obviously, Collingwood were really good at it they've been good at it this year, but obviously the year before they won the flag, and the year they won the flag, they were the masters of it, really. How important is it for, I guess, morale to win those close games that are within a goal?
Yep. Yeah, no, it's certainly really important. And I think that sometimes it's you just got to be fortunate to be in a good position to be in those sorts of games so you can practice them.
Yeah.
When you look at training and you practice them at training, it's such a fortunate position to be in to go to train that.
Yeah.
It's better than going back to the well and going, boys, our team defence is shocking. We just have to train this because we're getting belted,
Yeah.
And we've been able to train those for those moments in games when we've been behind or we're in front. So how do we save the game or win the game? Things like that. And not to forget that we lost a couple at the start.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
yeah.
You learn from them and you always go, well, what did I do that time? What can I do differently? How do I keep a cool head? How do I, not sort of squeeze the fish a bit and remain relaxed in those situations and trust the process that we have.
I think that's why me as a Freo supporter, I was so proud of you guys for the way you got that job done against Sydney. And it was a bit fortunate with McDonald missing that goal, but just after the 2 heartbreaking losses earlier, just to come back, it showed a bit of fight and resilience. Even in that Collingwood game too, to get the draw, it seemed like you're going to get nothing from it at one stage. So
no, exactly right. And I think that's sort of, the sign of our group and, we never say die sort of attitude. We have let ourselves down in a couple games this year, and but what comes with that is good learning opportunities. So to be able to learn from those and being able to put it into practice. And like I said, the Sydney game was very fortunate, but the way the boys sort of held on, a bit undermanned in defence.
Yeah, and if you put yourself in the position to win, and it gets there at the end, then you deserve it, really, right? That's as you were saying, it's good to be in those spots. Speaking of the draw, every time there's a draw, there's always a debate: should there be extra time in normal season? Do you like the draw in normal? Because I actually think there's value in the draw. Yeah. Particularly, it gives you a bit of an edge for like a top 4 or a top 8.
Unique too.
Well, Sydney made the 8 last year because they had the draw. Obviously, you have the loss, you're not going to get there. I think there can be value in it, and makes your points a little bit different.
Yeah. No, I'm big on leave the draw in the game.
Yeah.
Because
I agree.
The AFL is probably one of the only sports in the world that changes its rules every year.
Yeah, well,
and
particularly...
And that's not me having a dig or anything, but like there's got to be some sort of tradition, I feel, left in the game. And I love the draw. Like I'm on the same side as you. Like, it can make or break a season.
I think, there is some value
I think that, it's pretty cool that our game can come down to literally one kick.
Yeah.
Like if it goes one side of the post or into the post, it can decide a top 8 or a bottom 8 side, But I'm sort of the... Leave the game alone for a bit. Yeah. Obviously, we've got to protect the head and all that.
Yeah.
Which that's fine, that stuff. But let's just leave the rules the same for a bit because I think it is creating a little bit of confusion at the moment.
Well, we did have a few other questions about some of the rules of the game, just what your opinion or interpretation is. So, firstly, obviously, they changed the interpretation of holding the ball. Like, do you like the new interpretation? Do you think there's still some tweaking? And then, again, talking about protecting the head or the sling tackles, do you think... Is that difficult? Do you think the punishment's fair for some of the sling tackles that happen? Like, just your interpretation of both of those. And
I think...
Is it difficult to adapt?
Yeah. I think these days as a player, you're just going to have to weigh up. It's like risk management in a split second. I think you're asking a lot of players who are so competitive trying to win a game of
and
AFL
everything
football.
Looks easier in slow mo too,
and that's
doesn't
the thing.
it?
It always gets played in slow motion, looks really easy. But like for example, the other day when I think it was the debate from the Essendon Geelong game and Ridley got done holding the ball.
Yes,
And, he just got the ball, but one arm was pinned, he's doing circles, and I think someone said, what if he throws a boot at that, misses, lands and hits his head? Stengel gets 2 weeks because he's slung him to the ground, and he's trying to dispose of it because he doesn't want to get done holding the ball. So it's like, it's one or the other, and it's really tough to adjudicate. Like, AFL is a really hard game to umpire, I get that. But, I think that, like they always say, if one arm's free and you've got the ball with one arm, then you've got to try and dispose of it. It's like, well, if someone's holding my other arm, mate, there's no way I can handball the ball.
Yeah.
Then there's an imbalance, and then that's where your head goes.
It brings the head injuries into it because, and some players have probably played for those free kicks this year, like try and drive their head into the ground, that sort of thing.
I guess, we have seen it with a few.
It's also what the AFL is trying to get away from as well. So, there's so many blurred lines at the moment, and like you said, it's probably the hardest sport in the world to umpire. So look,
so there is definitely a chop out for the umpires there, and in that space. But I think it's my interpretation of holding the ball should be if you've had a chance to get rid of the ball and you haven't, then it's holding the ball. Or if you haven't handballed it or kicked it, it's holding the ball.
Even if the ball gets knocked out in the tackle, you reckon that's incorrect disposal?
If it's knocked out in the tackle, depends. Like if you. The ones I don't like seeing is the holding the man ones, where the bloke just got the ball, tries to take you on, you knock the ball out.
How frustrating is that?
It's like, well, he dropped the ball, mate.
And then you get done. It's because they're paying the free, they're paying the second free in a way in that sequence. That I find that so frustrating as well. It happens so often.
And it's funny. Like there's a little saying that we poke around the club at the moment. It's like ball security is job security. I think it's an NFL sort of saying.
Okay.
But it's like, that's the thing, like ball security, like, you don't ever want to just have the ball knocked out in the tackle and spill it to the opposition. So I think that it's, if you're tackled and the ball comes out and the tackle goes on, I think it should just be play on.
Yeah. That's fair enough. Nice. And what I've noticed in the AFL, and like, I could be wrong, but obviously in the Carlton game, you got done for dissent, right?
Yep.
They haven't been paying many of those in the last couple of months.
Seems like they've relaxed on it from what I can see. I feel
or
like
have players gone more tight-lipped?
I still think even obviously we don't know what players say on field, but I think earlier on in the year, it seemed like any reaction was getting a free kick paid. It seems like it's softened a little bit now compared to earlier in the year.
Yeah. Well, that was, it's just, I've sort of spoken on this a couple of times, but my point of view in that game was like, if someone puts themselves in my shoes for just 10 seconds,
Yeah.
I didn't know the ball was touched. I'm thinking that, I've just lost my team the game.
Yeah, so
I had the
you're-
ball kicked over my head for a goal, and I'm swearing and carrying on like filthy at myself because I'm so ultra competitive and arguably and I will say I have probably said things to umpires before.
Yeah.
And that sort of thing. Like, I'm no, quiet boy. I've been accused of that. There's no doubt about it. And it's obviously something I had to work on. And but yeah, in that moment, it was obviously the umpire called it, and I think the frustrating thing was obviously the fallout from that. And
Yeah.
but yeah, I sort of moved on and sort of look back on it now, and it's sort of not something I like to talk about publicly because it's like there's no real.
Sorry.
No. There's no like wrong or right or wrong.
Yeah,
And there's nothing you can really say. It's what's done is done. So,
Yeah, for sure.
it's probably just when you're in that situation next time, I've just got to cop that I've lost my team the game and not say anything. So
Yeah.
but yeah, which is hard to do when we're playing such a competitive sport for such an ultimate sort of prize at the end of it. So
Just on the ultimate prize, like I can tell just from this interview here, like you are so driven to win that flag, and like you said, your move from Geelong back home, you won't be fulfilled until you have that feeling. Just a quick little story. I remember I was I was in Freo actually a few years ago, and I bumped into Nat Fife, and I had a little chat with him. He was really good with his time. We were in a car park kicking a footy for 10 minutes. Couldn't hit me on the chest, but that's all right. But no, he had a chat with me, and he looked me in the eyes and he said, like, all he wants is to win a flag for the club. And as a supporter, like ever since birth, like Dad supported Freo, so I obviously had the beanie on when I came out of the womb and all that. So like it's just great to hear, and like I guess it's so good that our team's so young and in a position to potentially fight for that, potentially even this year. So just hats off to you boys and keep it up, eh?
yeah, no, it's certainly exciting, and it gives you goosebumps when you talk about it, but it's a long way to go.
Definitely.
And it's sort of one of those things that, we're probably, like JL sort of said, we were a 7 out of 10 last night.
Yeah.
We still got to build on quite a bit of stuff, but, our footy is good enough, and if we can string our footy together, then, there should be no ceiling on us, I suppose.
A few words on JL.
No, I love him. Yeah,
Love him?
I love JL, and he's been really good for me, really good for my development and that sort of thing. And he's quite a quirky coach. He's quite funny, quite witty, and very smart. So, I've really loved my time under JL. And at the start of the year, it was kind of laughable when everyone was trying to give him the boot because I don't think there was a player at the club that wanted him to go. So. We'll have him sign on for a couple more years because, we love him.
That video of you guys reacting to him announcing that he had an extension, that was awesome because all you boys got around him like almost as though he was a player.
Yeah.
So that was cool. Now, we're going to stop with the footy stuff. We'll wrap up the show in a bit, but we want to know some of your favourite TV shows.
Right.
Some of your favourite movies.
What do you do outside of footy? Things like that.
Hobbies and that.
Yeah.
Yep. I live with my girlfriend, and I played a fair bit of Fortnite, but she's stamped the foot now, and she's told me to grow up a little bit, which is fair enough. So my Fortnite career's done.
Yeah.
Were you decent?
Oh, I like to think I was
Yeah.
decent, but just sort of loved it because it was with my mates and my little brother and that sort of thing, and it's a great time, to burn a couple hours. And but no, in my spare time, I got a border collie, and she has a little sausage dog, so we
Nice.
take them down to the park and all that sort of thing. But no, she's obviously, Paige, her name is from out of town. She's got a farm in Young, so we get out there when we can and just get away from the city for a bit. And then obviously all my mates, I love going to the pub with my mates and having a beer and, chilling with that. And
Favourite pubs?
well, I live in sort of Kensington, CAMEO, so
Yeah.
I go to the CAMEO a lot. The Vic Park Strip is nice. Broken
Handy.
Hill. Just got to be careful there. A few of the Eagles boys around there,
Yeah.
so just can't tread on their toes. But no, I love to just sort of try and treat my footy as like it's a game I play on the weekend, as I did when I was a youngster. And
Nice.
I'll try and live my life within the rules of being an AFL player and what our club expects of us from game to game.
100%.
I think we covered it. I'm pretty happy.
So we'll
It's
wrap
been
up.
great, actually.
We'll wrap up with the question we ask every guest we've ever had on the show. how would you like to be remembered?
How would I like to be remembered? That's a great question. No, I always just want to be remembered as a guy who never took life too serious.
Yeah.
Always had great fun, but just had a crack at everything. Just had a crack.
I like that.
Just having a crack.
How good's that?
That's awesome. Thanks, Jordan Clark. It's been a great pleasure to have you on. We appreciate it very much. And
Great episode. I loved it.
good luck for the
thought
rest
it
of the
was sick.
season, mate.
No, thanks, lads. It was a privilege. So
Yeah, it was sick.
Enjoy your holidays.
Thanks for your
as
time.
well.
Cheers,
Enjoy the
mate.
rest of the season.
No, thank you.
We appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to the Jamo and Dylan Show. Make sure to subscribe to the boys on YouTube and share the podcast with a mate.